so lovely to be here with you, and really you are awe-inspiring. When I got to know a little bit more about Rand's vision for the Utah Genius and the Utah Genius Awards, I knew about the awards, but when he really talked about how he created them and his motivation, I was so impressed, because having been on the business side of innovation and entrepreneurship for many years, I think he is exactly right. The people who do all the real work are not usually up here. And that is always the case at our companies, because my co-founder and the technical visionary for our business is my husband, Brad Davis. And before you ask, yes, we actually like working together. People do always wonder, and we don't fight about it. We prefer it, but he really is the person who is the technical genius behind our efforts. And we also have two daughters. Our oldest is Alexa, and she is an emerging scientist, a freshman in biology and already an undergraduate researcher in a genetics lab. And our youngest is Caitlin, and she's 13, and just completed a prize-winning run with her work on tardigrades. And just in case you're not up on the latest, tardigrades are multicellular microscopic creatures, and they are quite charming until you pour either acidic or basic solutions on them, at which point they are dead. And she's studied quite a bit about that. And so I just want you to know what a privilege it is to be here and how fun it's been to have our daughters here. A few years ago when we were at the Governor's Medals, our oldest was a mid-teenager, let's say, and after meeting a group much like this one, in fact, some of you were there, including several generations of state science advisor and many representatives from our colleges and universities, and we introduced our girls to our friends and colleagues. And Alexa got a little quiet, and she looked at Brad and I and said something to the effect of, "Wow, you two know a lot of really smart people, don't you?" And, you know, if you've had teenagers, you know that getting your teenager to say the word smart and you in the same sentence is really quite a victory, right? So we were pleased with that. But I want to just give a nod to the Women Tech Council, who's made a lot of efforts to bring their students to their awards, because I think it's really fantastic for students to see the fruits of labor, right? The fruits of your labors, of a lifetime of labor and of creativity. So I want to take you back a little ways, back to 2006, back to those days at the Centers of Excellence, because really that formed the vision for VentureWrench, which is the product that Brad and I are working on now. I was recruited as the Centers of Excellence Director by the Huntsman-Herbert administration, and it really was the beginning of kind of a golden age of innovation-based economic development in the state, and a couple of really key things were happening. First of all, before I was recruited to the state, I had been a volunteer lobbyist for the Fund of Funds for the legislation, and the Fund of Funds had been formed, and Jeremy Nielsen, who is here with us, had been recruited as the first managing director, and he had a vision not just of managing a fund, but of economic development, of helping entrepreneurs be, as it were, bigger, stronger, faster. And helping them take better advantage of the money that was coming into the state for really, in terms of diverse sources, for the first time. At the same time, USTAR was created, and some of you may be well acquainted with USTAR and with some of the big initiatives, but even smaller gems like this SBIR's TTR Assistance Center were born out of USTAR, which has become a real asset for companies like ours who've received SBIR funding. And GoEd was staffed with individuals from industry, including our then state science advisor and managing director, Dr. Greg Jones, who is also with us, and we appreciate that. And Val, he is one who really fostered the Clusters Initiative, and composites was his baby. So all those planes flying around with a piece of Utah can thank Dr. Jones. And I really didn't get composites because I'm kind of the electron side, but I'm like, yeah, go Greg. But it worked out actually really well. And one of the things we did, it was the 20th anniversary of the Center's program. And so we did a study. We actually called all of the PIs who'd received money in 20 years, who were still alive. And we talked to them. And they told us one of the problems was just when we needed the money to go out into industry, the money ran out, because at the time the money went to the university. And so we worked with legislators to make changes to that statute. And then Representative John Dougal, who is now our state auditor and who was trying to be here, and his wife and daughter are here instead, but he's in Paiute County speaking at their county convention. I told him we were going to have more fun than he's having. I'm just saying. Don't tell anybody from Paiute I said that, but I just think. But he helped make legislative changes so we could give money to spinouts and licensees. And that was controversial, and Mike, I know you're here because I just saw you. It was controversial, but it did allow us to have a pipeline. And now we had an environment. We had youth share, we had fund of funds, we had centers with spinouts, and we had a real environment where we could drive innovation into the economy, not just at our universities where there was so much strength and continues to be so much strength. But the big question was, how do we mentor so many entrepreneurs? And the secondary question, could technology help? When you count the number of entrepreneurs who have started companies, raised money, and either had an exit or built a sustainable business, it's a modest number. It's a good number for our size. We have a lot of entrepreneurial energy. But compared to the number of people who want to do that, it's relatively small. And so that makes it hard to do one-on-one mentoring. In Silicon Valley, you call your buddy who just raised a round, take him for pizza, ask him who the jerks are, ask him who the good VCs are, right? Ask him what the rules of the game are, away you go. But investors make the rules pretty opaque, and that's on purpose. That's a test. And it disadvantages our entrepreneurs. And so we kept saying, how do we scale? And we did a lot of experimentation. I made the mistake, and Val will appreciate this, I made the mistake one time of saying to someone, well, we're making this up. It turns out that government officials should not say, we're making it up. So I use the word experimentation after that. And so I would come home, and Brad and I would talk about this challenge. How do we scale, and could technology help? And that became the vision for VentureWrench. Could we take some of the most advanced software technology? Could we take machine learning, artificial intelligence, semantic networking, natural language processing? Could we apply it to this problem of giving entrepreneurs the best information? If you Google the word entrepreneur today, as of yesterday morning, 80 million resources pop up. Used to be 100. Apparently they cut that back by the last 20 million not being relevant in some way, right? And so what's an entrepreneur to do? How do you know what's useful? That's what we set out to do, to use tools to help curate the best, most useful stuff, and to help entrepreneurs get to success more quickly. Entrepreneurs are learning, doing, and solving, and that is what we want to help them do. And that is the opportunity in the state of Utah. I had some statistics I wanted to share with you, but I won't because I don't want to take too long from the other awardees. But I will say this, that entrepreneurship, despite its moment in the sun, has actually declined. The number of new employer firms just in the past decade has fallen from approximately 600,000 a year to 400,000. And right now, just barely above the firm death rate. So we're just barely holding even though in the previous 30 years we had a net increase of 100,000 firms a year for 30 straight years. And now we're just barely breaking even. So entrepreneurship really is facing a lot of challenges. So here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to support your entrepreneurs. I want you to help them in a very concrete way. One of the skills entrepreneurs need, and almost every entrepreneur is bad at, because it's hard, is pitching. How many of you have ever given a pitch? I see a few hands, quite a few hands going up. It's actually hard because it's not natural. So I actually teach a workshop on helping entrepreneurs how to pitch. And we have a very specific structure before and after we teach the technique on how to build a successful pitch. And so this is what I want you to do. If you meet someone who says they're an entrepreneur, first of all, tell them that you're a Utah genius or that you're an innovator, not an investor, unless you want to be hit up to invest, okay? Just warning you, because entrepreneurs have one goal. Tell them you want to hear their elevator pitch. Hopefully they have one. If they don't, send them to VentureWrench. Tell them to look for a workshop, okay? But assuming that they do, have them give you their elevator pitch. And then I want you to tell them two things, because these two things will help them, even if it's a terrible pitch. And most of the time, it will be only so-so, okay? So the two things you're going to tell them is, one, what did you learn? So, oh, hey, I learned about your business that you sell X-ray devices, right? Whatever else you learned, you tell them. So you're giving them positive feedback about what you learned from their pitch, what they accurately communicated to you. And then tell them what you wish you had learned, but that you still didn't know. And honestly, oftentimes that's quite a list. But that will also help them understand where they are falling short in communicating their vision in 30 seconds, because it's really hard. So I hope you will join me in helping entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurship and innovation go hand in hand. The CEO of Gallup says it's a cart and a horse, and we have a lot of carts, he says, because we have a lot of investment in innovation, but we need more horses. I just think we need better trained horses. So please join me in helping our entrepreneurial community. Thank you so much for this honor and for your time.